The message landed on my phone in the middle of helping a customer choose a scarf. Just one text.
Short. Cruel.
Final. I'm leaving you. Moving to Miami with my 20-year-old girlfriend. I already emptied our joint account. My hands didn't tremble. My smile didn't break. My voice stayed steady as I wrapped Mrs. Peterson's purchase in our signature silver paper. The only hint of the bomb that had just detonated in my life was the tight pull around my eyes. She left the boutique, blissfully unaware. Only then did I type my reply. Good luck. My name is Claire. I'm 38, and I had just received the coldest goodbye a husband could deliver. 12 years dissolved with a text message. While Mark probably pictured me collapsing in tears, I was already sliding the key into the lock, closing up my boutique with calm precision. Because the truth is, I had seen it coming. The late nights at work with no extra paychecks to prove them. The sudden passwords he slapped on his phone. The obsessive gym sessions, the new clothes, the desperate attempts to pretend he wasn't 45. 3 months ago, I found a dinner receipt. 2 people, expensive wine. A night he swore he'd been stuck in the office. That same night, I opened a new bank account under my name only. A week later, when he suggested simplifying things by merging our finances, I smiled sweetly and agreed. Meanwhile, I funneled every cent of my savings into the new account. The joint account, the one he just bragged about draining, held nothing more than 2 months' worth of deposits. Enough to keep him from getting suspicious. The rest? Safe. Along with meticulous records of every lie, every hotel bill, every unexplained charge he thought I'd overlooked. My phone buzzed again. Don't bother begging. Melissa, and I leave tomorrow. I'll send for my things later. Melissa, his new receptionist. I'd met her at the Christmas party, watched her laugh too loudly at his tired jokes, noticed the way her hand lingered on his arm. Young enough to be his daughter. Naive enough to believe she was the love of his life. I didn't answer him. Instead, I dialed my lawyer, the one I had quietly consulted 2 months earlier when hotel charges appeared on our statement. It's time, I said. My voice was calm. He made his move, she asked. Just now. The papers are ready. I'll file them tomorrow. Do you want him served in Miami? No rush, I said. Let him think he's won first. Another text. I know this must be hard for you. You're not getting any younger. At least you have your little shop. My little shop. The boutique I built from scratch. The business that out-earned his middle management job. The one I kept completely separate from our joint finances. I smiled. Let him belittle me. Soon, certified letters would be waiting for him in Miami, ready to crush his illusion of victory. That evening, I sat in the home he'd just generously allowed me to keep. My home, the house I inherited from my grandmother, the deed safely in my name despite his endless hints to add him to it. Another instinct that had saved me. As I gathered documents for my lawyer, I stumbled across our wedding album. Mark looked so different back then. Before his midlife crisis turned him into a parody of himself. Shirts too tight for his softening belly, slang borrowed from kids half his age. The forced charm that made him ridiculous instead of attractive. My phone buzzed with more texts, each one smugger than the last. I've been planning this for months. Melissa understands me in ways you never did. You'll be fine. Maybe you'll find someone your own age. I told my family already. They agree, it's nobody's fault. I took screenshots. Every word became evidence. My lawyer would savor his casual admissions, the emptying of our account, the gloating over his betrayal. Then came the perfect gift. Oh, by the way, I used the joint card to book our flights and hotel. Consider it my parting present. LOL. I didn't hesitate. I called the credit card company. Mrs. Harrison speaking. I need to report fraudulent charges. What charges, ma'am? 2 first-class tickets to Miami. A hotel reservation at the Royal Palm. And remove my husband as an authorized user. Do you have documentation? Text messages from him admitting everything. I'll forward them. The representative's professional voice carried a spark of satisfaction as she confirmed the cancellations. Mark and Melissa would reach the airport tomorrow only to find their grand escape erased. Another text. Don't worry about the house. I'll let you stay there until you find something smaller. I laughed out loud. The audacity. Did he really believe he had any claim to my grandmother's house? Then another. I know the shop means a lot to you. We can work out a fair payment for your half. My half. Of my business. The empire I built alone while he called it a hobby and complained about my long hours. I opened a bottle of wine. The good one. The one I'd saved for a special occasion. I poured a glass, lifted it to my lips, and smiled. Yes. This counted. Tomorrow, Mark would learn what the law really says about property and assets. But tonight, I let myself enjoy the silence of my house. A quiet glass of wine. The stillness of a home that was mine, always mine. Morning came with a storm of messages. His words flashed across my screen like bullets. What the hell did you do to our card? The airline won't honor our tickets. The hotel canceled our reservation. Answer me. I didn't. I silenced the phone, slipped it into my bag, and drove to the boutique. Friday was my busiest day, and I had work to do, new designer handbags waiting in unopened boxes, displays to refresh. Life doesn't stop just because your husband runs off with someone young enough to call you mom. Around noon, my phone lit up again. This time, it was Barbara, his mother. Her voice was soft, but the words carried a sharp edge. Claire, dear, Mark told us everything. How controlling you've been. How cold. How you pushed him away. And now you're sabotaging his travel plans. Vindictive isn't like you. I put her on speaker, arranging handbags in the front window as if we were discussing nothing more serious than the weather. Did he mention emptying our joint account? I asked. Or charging 2 first-class tickets for him and his girlfriend on our credit card? Silence. Then a hesitant. Well, he said you left him no choice. That you'd grown distant. Barbara, I said evenly. I have his texts. Would you like me to read the one where he bragged about taking our money? Or the one where he mocked my age? Another pause. He did seem cruel. I told him that message was inappropriate. I appreciate the call, Barbara. But my lawyer has advised minimal contact with Mark's family during the proceedings. Proceedings? Already, she whispered. Goodbye, Barbara. By late afternoon, the whispers had spread like wildfire. His sister Amanda had been busy, feeding gossip through friends of friends. The news reached me that Mark and Melissa weren't in Miami at all. They were stranded in a dingy budget motel by the airport, their first-class dreams canceled. His personal cards were maxed out, another secret debt I'd already suspected. Then came the call I had been waiting for. My lawyer's voice was calm, steady. We have an emergency hearing scheduled for Monday. With his admission of draining the account and the documented credit card fraud, we'll be able to freeze whatever's left. Has he been served? I asked. Not yet, but he will be at his new motel. And Melissa's social media has been a goldmine. She's posting everything, including some less than flattering things about you. I smiled to myself. Let her post. Let them both believe they were untouchable. They had no idea how carefully I'd been preparing hotel receipts, credit card bills, months of screenshots. I had watched quietly while he planned his escape, never once suspecting I was already building my case. Another text buzzed through. You think you're clever? I made copies of all your boutique's financial records. Half of that business is mine. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer. Let him try. He'd learn quickly how little he understood about business law, about separate assets, about the difference between what's shared and what's untouchable. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't dramatic. It's simple, quiet, being ready. Monday arrived, and with it, the hearing. Mark strutted into the courthouse in his new uniform of desperation, designer jeans too tight for his middle-aged frame, a blazer chosen to scream youth, but only amplifying the crisis he couldn't escape. Melissa waited outside, her face pale and uncertain under the harsh fluorescent lights. Inside, the air felt heavy with judgment. My lawyer presented everything like a symphony, each note deliberate, each piece of evidence layered with precision. The text where Mark laughed about draining our account. The credit card charges. The hotel bills. The meticulous records I had gathered while he believed he was clever. Mark's lawyer scrambled, his voice slick and defensive. Yes, my client admits to some rash decisions. But Mrs. Harrison has been vindictive. Calculating. Calculating, my lawyer cut in, voice like steel. You mean prudent. She protected her separate assets. She documented suspicious behavior. That isn't vindictive. That's smart. The judge leafed through the paperwork with slow, deliberate movements. My house deed, only my name. Boutique incorporation papers, mine alone. Bank records, evidence of separation Mark had mocked as obsessive. Mr. Harrison, the judge said finally, voice sharp enough to cut glass, you admitted in writing to draining a joint account. You admitted to using shared credit cards to fund a trip with your girlfriend. Do you deny this? Mark shifted in his chair, sweat forming on his forehead. I was just trying to make a clean break. By committing fraud, the judge snapped. And now you claim rights to property that the documentation proves is separate from marital assets? His lawyer made one last attempt. The business grew during the marriage. My client is entitled. The business was established before the marriage. My lawyer interrupted. Every dollar invested, every dollar earned, is documented.
Separate.
Protected. I watched Mark's face fall as the truth closed in around him. He had thought he could empty accounts, run away, take half of what he never built. He never understood why I insisted on keeping everything separate, why I guarded receipts, why I never blurred the lines. The judge delivered the blow. The court finds sufficient evidence of financial misconduct. All shared assets are frozen pending dissolution. Mr. Harrison is ordered to return all funds removed from the joint account within 24 hours. Mark leaned forward, panicked. But that money's gone. We spent it on. Then I suggest you replace it. The judge cut him off coldly. And Mr. Harrison, this court views the use of shared credit cards to fund paramours very dimly. The gavel came down, and with it, the sound of Mark's collapse. Outside the courthouse, Melissa's voice floated toward me, sharp, nervous. She was asking Mark what had happened to their Miami plans. His answer was swallowed by the echo of my heels striking marble as I walked away. Head high, back straight. Returning to the business he never respected, the life he never believed I could build without him. The weeks that followed brought desperation. Mark clawed at every angle, trying to rewrite history. He suddenly remembered investing in the boutique, claimed it had been his idea, even suggested he'd been my silent business partner all along. Each lie crumbled under the weight of my records. Every receipt, every contract, every document proving he had no stake. He's unraveling, my lawyer told me. Melissa's posts show they've downgraded to her studio apartment. Life on a receptionist's paycheck isn't the glamorous escape he promised. Meanwhile, his family started calling. Their voices sounded different now, less accusing, more uncertain. We had no idea, his sister Amanda admitted. He told us you were cold, controlling, that he needed to get out. But then we saw the texts. The way he bragged about stealing your money. That's not the brother I know. Even his mother's voice broke when she called. The things he said about you, your age, replacing you like you were nothing, I raised him better than that. Or at least I thought I did. But I didn't pick up anymore. Their support meant nothing now. They weren't reaching for me. They were reaching for lifeboats, abandoning a sinking ship. Ironically, the boutique thrived. Gossip fueled business. Women came in not just to shop, but to stand with me. They left with armfuls of bags, their voices fierce with solidarity. My ex tried the same thing, one customer confided as she paid for a handbag. He thought he'd take everything. Men like that never expect us to be smarter. Mark's texts kept coming. Each one a different mask. Anger, regret, manipulation. You ruined everything. I never meant to hurt you. You'll regret this. We can work something out. That business would be nothing without me. I forwarded every word to my lawyer. I didn't respond. Let him keep digging. Through whispers, I heard Melissa was fading fast. The secret affair had been thrilling in hotel rooms. But sharing a tiny apartment with a middle-aged man who couldn't pay his own bills? That shine wore off quick. Her posts shifted from adventures to toxic relationships. By the next week, her relationship status was gone. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered his haha after draining our account, the way he mocked my age like it was my downfall. Pity dissolved, replaced by something sharper.
Pride.
The final hearing stripped away whatever illusion he had left. His arrogance was gone, replaced by panic that clung to him like sweat. Melissa didn't even show. She'd already moved on, to someone closer to her age, according to the gossip mill. Mark walked in wearing old clothes, the designer wardrobe returned, no doubt to scrape together money for the funds he'd stolen. His lawyer looked exhausted, flipping through papers like a man searching for a lifeline that wasn't there. He tried one last argument. Despite the separate property documentation, my client contributed to his wife's business, through support, through encouragement. Moral support? My lawyer cut in, her voice sharp. You mean these texts? The ones mocking her little shop? Or his social media posts calling it a hobby? The judge's patience ran out. The ruling was clear. I kept everything, my house, my business, my assets. Mark got his personal belongings and a car worth less than the loan still hanging over it. You've destroyed me, he hissed as we left. I'll have to move back in with my parents. No, Mark, I said calmly. You destroyed yourself. I only made sure you couldn't destroy me too. His mother was waiting in the parking lot. The look on her face said it all. She ushered him toward her car, toward his new reality. 45 years old and moving back into his childhood bedroom. You planned this all along, he accused. You knew. No, I said. I just paid attention. I kept records. Something you never thought I'd do. Enough, Mark, his mother snapped, her patience gone. You've embarrassed yourself long enough. As they walked away, I heard her tearing into him. A 20-year-old? Emptying bank accounts? Those texts? What were you thinking? I watched them disappear, feeling nothing but relief. He thought he was ending our story with that cruel text. All he did was set my plan in motion. When my phone buzzed again, it wasn't Mark. It was new boutique orders rolling in from the website. Life was moving forward, just not in the direction he'd imagined. 6 months later, my boutique opened a second location. The little shop he mocked had become an empire. I'd hired 3 new employees. The online store was gaining traction nationwide. And while he struggled to piece his life together, mine was expanding, thriving, unstoppable. Word of Mark's downfall trickled back to me like gossip carried on the wind. He tried the dating apps, but reality had a cruel way of closing doors. Women his age weren't interested in a 40-something man still sleeping under his parents' roof. Younger women avoided him too. His reputation spread fast. Melissa herself had made sure of that, passing around screenshots of his desperate late-night texts after she cut him loose. Even his career took a hit. HR at his company launched an investigation into his affair with a subordinate. The reprimand landed hard, stripping him of the promotion he'd been bragging about for months. It went to someone else, someone who hadn't mixed business with cheap romance. He tried to cry age discrimination, Amanda told me during a surprise visit to my boutique. HR had only added that complaint to his file. I was caught off guard seeing her there, fingertips brushing over a silk scarf. Her presence said more than her words, that even his own family had turned from him. I know we didn't stand by you at first, she admitted quietly. He played the victim too well. But watching how he acted afterward, how he treated you, how he burned everything down, I'm ashamed we ever believed him. Meanwhile, Mark's attempts to undo the divorce settlement became almost laughable. Petition after petition was denied. Each claim of unfairness shot down by his own incriminating words. He even tried saying the text about emptying the account was just a joke. My lawyer told me one afternoon, laughing. The judge asked if makes theft less illegal. While he unraveled, my boutique flourished. Local business magazines wanted my story, not as the abandoned wife, but as the businesswoman who planned ahead, who turned betrayal into resilience. Young entrepreneurs came to me for advice. The best protection is preparation, I told a young woman who reminded me of Melissa. And always trust your instincts. Mark's mother called from time to time, usually after his latest disaster. He had tried online gambling, hoping to buy back the life he lost. Then it was a pyramid scheme. Each gamble only dug him deeper. I don't know where we went wrong, she sighed one evening. His father and I offered to help him if he'd just take responsibility. But he blames everyone else.
You.
Melissa. His company. Even the judge. I listened politely, but I kept my distance. Their family's chaos wasn't mine anymore. My life was moving forward, plans for a third boutique, dreams of expanding into luxury accessories. The only reminder I allowed sat framed in my office. A screenshot of his last cruel message before I blocked him. Have fun with your little shop. At least it'll keep you busy in your old age. Beneath it, my latest business award gleamed, a silent rebuttal. Proof that the sweetest revenge is success. 1 year after the divorce, I stood beneath the bright lights of my third boutique's grand opening. Reporters crowded in, eager not for scandal but for my story, an entrepreneur expanding her brand. Mark's betrayal had been reduced to a footnote, overshadowed by my rise. And then Melissa walked in. She looked small, uncertain, clutching her purse like it could shield her. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I owe you an apology. I believed him when he said you were cold, controlling, that you didn't support his dreams. But then he tried the same games on me. The same manipulation. I saw it for myself. I continued arranging a display of designer sunglasses, my voice calm. Those weren't dreams, Melissa. They were escapes. And there's a difference. Her eyes dropped. I know. He thought moving into my place would be temporary, after you froze the accounts. 2 weeks in, he was already complaining about my closet, suggesting I take out a loan for something bigger. That's when I understood. I couldn't help but laugh. Let me guess. He had big plans, but no way to fund them. Exactly, she said. It was always going to work out once the investments paid off, once he got that promotion, once his crypto exploded. But it never did. Now I'm with someone my age. We're broke, paying off student loans. But at least it's real. We're building something, not chasing illusions. When she left, my assistant whispered, wide-eyed, "Was that the girlfriend?" "No," I said. "That was just another woman who learned the same lesson I did." I turned to a young couple studying handbags. Speaking of lessons, I told my assistant, "Let's talk about your idea for expanding our accessories line." Because the boutique wasn't just business anymore. It was a symbol of survival, of foresight, of standing firm when the storm hits. Young entrepreneurs often came to me for guidance. And I always told them the same thing. Protect your assets, protect yourself. Mark's mother called one final time. Not to talk about him, but to thank me. "You taught our family something important," she said softly. "About excusing bad behavior. About enabling cruelty. He's still here, still blaming the world. But we see him clearly now." I ended the call and looked around my newest boutique, filled with light, laughter, and possibility. Mark was still stuck in the ruins of his choices. I had stepped into a life he never believed I could have, built on strength, clarity, and preparation. "We're not defending him anymore," his mother had said. "That's your legacy to our family, teaching us the difference between supporting someone and enabling them." Her words stayed with me. They echoed in quiet moments, in boardroom meetings, in the late nights when I reviewed plans for a fourth boutique location. Legacy. I hadn't set out to teach anyone a lesson, least of all his family. But Mark's betrayal, his arrogance, his cruelty, it had forced me into clarity. He tried to replace me, to humiliate me, to dismantle everything I'd built. Instead, he had forged something inside me that was unbreakable. My phone buzzed with a message from my lawyer. Another petition from Mark. Dismissed immediately. Judge ordered him to pay court costs.
Thought you'd enjoy that.
I smiled. I could picture him in that childhood bedroom, walls still lined with old sports trophies and faded posters, clinging to the illusion that he still had power. But the truth had been sealed the moment he underestimated me. He never saw the storm coming because he never believed I was capable of being one. Sometimes revenge isn't about breaking even. Sometimes it's about breaking free. Becoming better. Becoming untouchable. 2 years after his infamous haha text, I stood on stage at a women's business conference. The auditorium lights burned hot, the room packed with women who had fought their own battles, some visible, some hidden. They weren't here to hear about betrayal. They were here to hear about growth, about protection, about building something lasting. During the Q&A, a woman stood up. My husband says I'm paranoid for wanting separate accounts. He says marriage means sharing everything. What do you think? I leaned forward, no hesitation. My ex-husband said the same thing. Right up until he tried to claim half my business in our divorce. Trust your instincts. Protection isn't paranoia. It's power. The applause was sharp, immediate, alive. My story had evolved. I was no longer just a cautionary tale. I had become proof, living evidence of what happens when preparation meets resilience. By then, the boutique chain had grown to 5 thriving locations, 30 employees, national magazine features. The little shop he'd once mocked as something to keep me busy in old age had become an empire. Through mutual friends, I heard that Mark had finally moved out of his parents' home into a small apartment above a garage. A demotion, both literal and figurative. He'd lost his job in a company restructuring and was forced into a lower-paying role. His dating profile was still live, young at heart. It read, but his photo was a lie, years old, frozen in a past he couldn't reclaim. Ironically, Melissa had become a familiar face in my original boutique. She had grown too, earned her business degree, launched her own consulting company. You inspired me, she admitted once, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. You showed me a woman can build something real, not just fall for promises that disappear the second life gets hard. I kept Mark's last cruel message framed in my office, not as a scar, but as a crown. Proof that words meant to destroy can fuel empires. Below it, a sign hung proudly, "Success is the best revenge." 5 years after the divorce, I stood in the flagship store, the same space that once felt so small, hosting our anniversary celebration. Balloons shimmered against the glass windows. Customers, employees, friends filled the room with laughter. I spoke about growth, about gratitude, about the women who helped me build this dream. When the crowd thinned, I saw her. His mother, dressed impeccably in one of our new season designs. She approached me carefully, smoothing her dress. I saw Mark yesterday, she said. He was talking about his glory days, about the life he could have had. He still doesn't realize he didn't lose it in the divorce. He threw it away. I let her words settle. They weren't bitter, just true. I thought back to that text. His mockery. His smug certainty that I would collapse without him. He wanted me small, desperate, begging. Instead, I built higher, stronger, faster than he could ever imagine. Every new boutique was more than a storefront. It was a monument to women who stopped dimming their light for insecure men. Proof that survival wasn't enough. We could thrive, shine, expand, rewrite the narrative entirely. Just then, my new sales associate approached. Her name, ironically, was Melissa. She had a question about our upgraded inventory system. I walked her through it, my reflection catching in the glass. For the first time, I paused. I really looked. I didn't see the woman Mark mocked. I didn't see the age he used as a weapon. I saw wisdom etched into my face. Strength in my stance. Success in my presence. His text was supposed to be an ending, but endings are only real if we let them be. For me, that moment had been a beginning. And not just for me. For every woman who ever heard my story, who ever realized she deserved more than someone else's midlife crisis dressed up as love.